Olá, sejam bem-vindos ao TV HBR Brasil Entrevista. Hoje estou recebendo aqui um autor internacional, best-seller do New York Times, Washington Post e tudo mais. É Daniel Pink, que escreveu, entre outros livros, Drive e To Sell is Human. O Drive já tem tradução aqui no Brasil, To Sell is Human ainda não, mas parece que está saindo uma tradução, uma versão brasileira dele. E diretamente de Washington nós conversaremos com Daniel Pink. E aqui à minha frente, Rodolfo Araújo, que é professor dos cursos da FGV, da HSM. Nesse vídeo eu quero conversar com Daniel, principalmente do livro To Sell is Human. Daniel, in your book, you're saying that everyone is in sales nowadays. It was like this, like forever, or something changed along the way, and now we are all in sales, and why is that?
Yeah. It's a little bit of both. I mean, we've always had people who are in sales. Economies have always needed people to sell products and services. And one of the interesting things that's happened in advanced economies is that there were predictions that we would have fewer people doing that, and that hasn't come true. We have a lot of people whose job it is to sell. But I think even more interesting than that, if you look at the people who do not have sales in their job title, do not have sales on their business card, they're in sales too. What they're spending an enormous amount of time on the job persuading, influencing, convincing other people. It's a big part of what they do. It's a big part of how they're effective in their job. So if you think about it, you go to a meeting and pitch an idea, you're selling. If you're on a job and you're trying to convince someone, hey, come and work, Rodolfo, come and work on my team rather than this other team, you're selling. If you're a boss and you're trying to get people to do something different or do something in a different way, you're selling. And for a whole bunch of reasons that we have a lot, selling is a big part of everybody's job today, whether we like it or not. The two big ideas that I want to leave readers with is, number one, like it or not, we're all in sales. You're in sales, I'm in sales. That's the way it works today. But the second idea is that sales is not what it used to be. It's a very different world. You're in a world of seller beware, and that forces you to behave much differently.
And in your book, you suggest some kinds of behaviors that helps or that makes the selling profile works better. Which are they?
Well, they are, in English, it's what I call the ABCs. And they are attunement, which is, can I get out of my own head and see things from your point of view? And that's really important because as bosses, we don't have much power to force people to do things. In the marketplace, we don't have much power to force people to do things. And so what we have to do is understand their perspective, understand where they're coming from, and find common ground. So that's attunement. Other one is buoyancy. And one reason, as you said it earlier, one reason we don't like sales is because there is an enormous amount of rejection. People say no all the time, and that's hard for us. And so one salesperson who I talked to said that being in sales was every day looking out into an ocean of rejection. An ocean of rejection. So buoyancy, I don't know the word in Portuguese, but in Espanol it's flotabilidad. So can you stay afloat?
Yeah, not to sink, not to get drowned.
Exactly. Yeah. And so if you go into the social science of all of this, that ends up being a big factor. And the other factor is clarity. And clarity is, it used to be that having access to information gave you an advantage. So you have to go from accessing information to making sense of information, to separating out what's important and what's not important in information. That's one aspect of clarity. And the second aspect of clarity is moving from problem solving to problem finding.
Do you find any resistance amongst the leaders or the companies about your ABC, your suggestion?
It's an interesting question. Not very much resistance at all. In fact, what I find is people saying, oh, okay, that makes sense. What do I do?
And what do they do?
I understand attunement is important, so how can I get better at that? I understand that buoyancy is important. How do I get better at that? That's really it's a great question. It's an interesting question, but there's not a lot of pushback to the idea itself. It's mostly people saying, okay, help me.
It might be easy for them to see the why and what but the how is the real problem, right? Yeah.
To take action.
Exactly it. That's a good way to put it. That's exactly it. They're looking for how do I do this?
What about the introverts? Can they be sellers too? Or what do they do?
Can they excel in these abilities too, in these skills too?
We tend to think that strong extroverts make the best salespeople, the kind of go, glad-handing, smiling, kind of people.
Yeah.
And what the research shows is some great new research out of the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School, some great new research that shows the following. Okay, strong introverts are not very good at sales. Okay? They're too quiet, they're too shy. But the big surprise is that strong extroverts, they're not much better. Strong extroverts are not good at sales. The people who are the very best are what are called ambiverts, the people in the middle. They're not strongly introverted. They're not strongly extroverted. They're in the middle. And the reason they're good is that they're more attuned. They know when to speak up. They know when to shut up. They know when to push. They know when to hold back. And those people are much better. And so one of the things that's interesting about this research is that we all just assume that strong extroverts are better at selling. And there is zero evidence of that. It's just not true. But and so what it means is that the people in the middle do the best. The best news of all is that if you look around the world and measure introversion and extroversion, really in most countries in the world, the distribution looks pretty much like this. Some people, not very many, are very strong introverts. Some people, not very many, are very strong extroverts. But most of the people watching your show are ambiverts. Most of us are in the middle. Yeah. And so it suggests that most of us can do this reasonably well. I think what's confusing for people sometimes is that doesn't mean that strong introverts are better. Okay? What it means is that the way we talk about this stuff, it's too narrow. And most of us are somewhere between strong introverts and strong extroverts. And those are the people who make the best sellers.
So I'm going to thank you very much, Daniel, for your time and for your ideas and everything else. Muito obrigado, então, pela sua presença aqui. E muito obrigado a você pela sua audiência. Ainda existe muito mais conhecimento para você compartilhar. Continue conosco, TV HBR Brasil.
That's one way of pitching. What is your one word? There's some other very interesting research showing that questions can be very effective as a form of pitching, because they invite people in to respond.